One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
So Trump posted on social media this weekend, "I love the smell of deportations in the morning." Chicago's about to find out why it's called the Department of War, with this picture of him that says "Chipocalypse now" in front of it. Border Czar Tom Homan told our Jake Tapper that Trump's words are being taken out of context. What do you think the appropriate context is for seeing this?
The appropriate context is the game of Chicago's over with the sanctuary cities. We're going to get the most serious criminals arrested and deported. The Democrats are in hysterics.
You've seen Apocalypse Now.
I've seen Apocalypse
okay,
Now.
So then,
they're not going to be dropping napalm in Chicago. I think people need to take a step back. I mean, it is funny. He almost pushes the button, and all the Democrats go into hysterics.
Do you think this is funny? What's happening?
I think it's. I think the meme or whatever they're called. I don't think it's not funny. I think it's making the point. We're going in there and taking care of it because. And you know what's really interesting? You've seen Gavin Newsom and some of these other Democrats up in Baltimore. They're taking crimes.
Do you think what the problem in Chicago and what we're about to see is funny?
The problem in Chicago is so serious and is deadly serious, and you have people like Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker that have not been dealing with the crime problem, not been dealing with the illegal alien problem, and because it's not politically viable for them within their party.
Should it get the funny treatment?
Should it get the funny treatment, meaning what?
Can we put the meme back up? Let's put it back up. Should it get this treatment?
I think it's a good way to send a message that they're going in and dealing with this. And to say, if you want to say who treats crime more seriously, this administration or the prior administration, you just have to look at the numbers and look at what the Biden administration did. It was a complete joke, particularly at the border.
I mean, is that serious to you when you look at that?
Their policies are serious.
That post.
I think it's meant to convey a message and meant to be funny in certain ways, but it's conveying a very serious message. And again, you know, the Democratic Party will get spun up on memes and stuff like that. If they just spent maybe a tenth of their effort making their own cities safer, we'd all be better off. And all of them were denying up until a couple of weeks ago there was any crime problem in places like Chicago, places like Washington, D.C., and now everyone's like, okay, there was a crime problem.
That, my fanfare friends, is your national media. You think it's funny? Should we be making light of this situation? You're a blathering idiot. Oh my gosh, you took up, that was 2 minutes and 21 seconds of national news time asking some guy here, the former ICE director, is it funny? I wish he would have just said, yeah, hell yeah, it's funny. It's incredibly funny. And yes, we are laughing. And then see what she would have done. Watch her head explode on national television. I'm telling you, that's why when the calls come in, and I don't think I'm the right guy, because I'm going to tell you straight up. Do you think it's funny? Hell yeah, I think it's funny. Don't you? Even if you don't agree with him, is it not funny? Well, it was definitely foretelling. He told you it's coming, and all of you liberals set your hair on fire, didn't want to believe it, but it's here. This is going to be a day that many on the left will remember for a very, very long time. This is a stinging rebuke of everything liberal. This today is going to be a turning point. You may not realize it now, but the bomb indeed has dropped, proverbially speaking. It's on. The hammer. It has finally hit. We were wondering when it was going to come. It has come. I'm going to bring you through some things here. We're going to be here for a while. At 4 o'clock, we've got Brendan Carr from the chairman of the FCC on. And for the first time, I'm going to be asking questions that you guys actually put up. I'm happy I'm here today because, as you see, I'm still in my confines in this office. We've been moving all day. That's why I couldn't go earlier. So I can tell you right now, once we have everything set up, next Monday we're going to shoot for, will be the firm switch over to the new studio. And so what we're going to be doing starting next Monday, I've gone to talk to Ashley, talked to the wife and everybody, even SV and some of the mods, and said, okay, here's a fixed time. You no longer have to wonder. 1 p.m. every single weekday, except Friday, Monday through Thursday, and 7 p.m. every single weekday except Friday. Friday will be one show at 3 o'clock. Saturday and Sundays, 3, 4, 5, depending on football. But in any event, we'll start kicking off things on Monday. So today, you may be saying to yourself, what makes today so integral? And why does it cause the left so much problem? So I'm going to try and sneak in a bunch of stuff before 4 p.m. But look no further than to what President Trump, he himself said today on Truth Social. After you heard blathering there from CNN, he posted this: 6 people were murdered again in Chicago this weekend. 12 others were shot in serious condition. That would mean that over the past number of weeks, probably 50 people were killed and hundreds were shot, many expected to die. Governor Pritzker just stated that he doesn't want the federal government help. Why? Big question. None of us can seem to find the answer for that. What is wrong with this guy and the 5% in the polls mayor, talking about Brandon Johnson? I want to help the people of Chicago, not hurt them. It's kind of hard to see how this could hurt them. Only the criminals will be hurt. We can move fast and stop this madness. The city and state have not been able to do their job. There is no debating that. The people of Illinois should band together and demand protection. It's only going to get worse. Act now before it's too late. Winky, winky, I'm coming. See, if there's one thing these people have to understand, and you and I, we've been talking for quite some time. We've been talking about the comms, the communications, comms that President Trump puts out there. And he tells people, it's coming. Not going to tell you what day, but it's coming. And they just seem to ignore it, and they think they're going to fight it, and everything will be fine until it's not fine. And I find it coincidental, the big bomb that dropped today, coinciding, no coincidences, with what Trump is rolling out. All right, so for those of you who aren't aware, where is it here? Let me bring it up. I thought I had it here. Yeah, here it is. The Supreme Court has ruled today that says the surge is here. President Trump is sending... Okay, this is the surge. I'm sorry. The surge is here. President Trump is sending federal agents into Chicago under Operation Midway Blitz. The ICE operation will target the criminal illegal aliens, oops, I said the word, I have to ask Brendan Carr about that, who flocked to Chicago and Illinois because they knew their Governor Pritzker and his sanctuary policies would protect them and allow them to roam free on American streets. Badass name. Operation Midway. Midway Blitz. Midway, if you guys don't remember, the Battle of Midway. Go look that up. That's important in terms of the it being synonymous with what he's doing right now. So let me just show you this, because why was it today that this was launched? Well, here you go.
There's breaking news coming into the Situation Room right now. The U.S. Supreme Court has just ruled in favor of President Trump's effort to allow ICE officials to continue what's called roving patrols in Southern California. Let's go live right now to CNN's Joan Biskupic. Joan, this overturns a previous ruling by lower courts that said the patrols violated the Fourth Amendment.
That's right, Wolf. This is just in, and the lower courts had said that the Trump administration's agents here didn't have the authority to do it because they lacked what's known as reasonable suspicion to be picking up these people. As you know, the Immigration and Customs agents had been, ICE, had been, masked, picking up men who were speaking.
So I had jumped ahead of myself in my cadence. If you look up top, look at the time. The time is 11:53 a.m. that the Supreme Court decision came down in a 6-3 decision. Of course, Kagan, Sotomayor, and idiot Ketanji Jackson all said no. But at 11:53, they're announcing the breaking news of the Supreme Court decision. Correct? All right. Now look at this. When I just showed you in error, I forgot my cadence here, the surge is here. Look at the time, 1:28. So he announces the surge literally about an hour and a half after the Supreme Court decision drops. And obviously, in order to announce the surge of Operation Midway Blitz, you had to have had all of the people in theater ready to go. So President Trump, I'm going to tell you, no one's ever going to admit it, but there's no way you could have had all these people at the ready to launch a planned operational blitz if you didn't know what was coming. Again, you can see it for yourself right here. There you see it. 11:53 a.m., the decision drops and is announced on CNN. You can just see the times yourself. And then you see him drop this at 1:28. So there's pretty much no friggin' possible way that President Trump had the National Guard and all the troops and the names and everything they were going to do put together in a little over an hour. There had to have been some idea this is dropping today. This is going to be a big Monday for us. Liberal tears commence. They're delicious. I love the liberal tears. This is what happened in that sequence that I don't know if people have pointed it out to you. And how important that is that Operation Midway Blitz is now underway in Chicago. But here's the most important part of this. Because the Supreme Court has now slapped the lower courts yet again, by the way, the people who say Pam Body's not doing anything, now we're up to about, 30-0. The fact that he can now do it is not going to be just in LA. Obviously, Chicago, Boston. The Supreme Court is national. It's not district. And so what's good for one is going to be good for the other. And at this point, there's nothing the liberals can do. I want you to understand that. There's nothing they can do. He is now free to roll into any city, anywhere in the country to do what he needs to do what we voted for him to do. They can't stop him at all. That's why I'm saying today is a hugely consequential day. It is going to be a day that lives on in infamy in liberal circles. It's the day they probably lost 2028. They'll be able to point back to this day when the Supreme Court said, have at it, get them out, anywhere in the flipping country. I hope you're understanding the magnitude of what that one decision has done. Now it's just a matter of getting the manpower. As you heard my conversation with the Director of ICE, Todd Lyons, last week, now it's all starting to make a whole lot of sense. Obviously, when I was asking him those questions, you can't break any operational protocols, but is it coming? And what did he say? Oh, it's coming. So if you look at the sequence of things, because you heard me interview Todd Lyons, and he said it's coming, and President Trump said do something before it's too late, and then the Supreme Court drops, too late. Now I don't need you to ask me. Now I don't need your permission. Now I'm about to stick a boot up your rump, and there's nothing you can do. Talk about clipping Brandon Johnson, Wes Moore, Kathy Hochul. He thought he was Nazi before. He thought it was fascist before. You ain't seen nothing yet. So if I was some crazed liberal, or rather newcomer, I'd be heading for the border, and I'm not talking about Taco Bell right now. You might want to get while the getting's good. And if you're an employer who's using these people as cheap labor, you're about to get got too, as Todd Lyons said. So let's continue.
Kind of hanging around at either car washes, agriculture sites, places where they thought that illegal migrants might be congregating.
She caught herself. Oh, I'm on CNN, right? I can't say those words. Did you catch that? Not them. Sorry, we didn't mean to offend you. I don't want anybody to get mad. Here, let me cut that back like 2 seconds. Yeah. Tell us again. Who's President Trump going after?
Car washes, agriculture sites, places where they thought that illegal migrants might be congregating, and the Supreme Court, over only 3 dissenters, the 3 liberal dissenters, said that the Trump administration could continue this. Let me just read a portion of 2 opinions that came with this order that I think shows you where the court is coming from. The majority did not explain its reasoning for allowing these to continue, for rejecting what the lower courts had seen as a Fourth Amendment violation. But Justice Kavanaugh, writing only for himself, noted the problem with immigration, illegal immigration in America, and he talked about how the government estimates that at least 15 million people are in the U.S. illegally. Many millions have entered or overstayed their visas, and they stay for years. So that was kind of where the majority is coming from. But here's what Justice Sonia Sotomayor, joined by Justices Jackson and Kagan on the liberal.
Notice that they're spending all the time talking about the people who are irrelevant. I don't give a crap what Sotomayor had to say. I don't care what Kagan had to say. And I definitely don't care what Ketanji Jackson has to say. You know why? Because they're losers. They're absolute losers here. 6-3. Doesn't matter what the minority said. Sorry. 6-3. Big win. Win. And they can't accept it. And she couldn't even say the words. That was too funny.
Both sides said, we should not have to live in a country where the government can seize anyone who looks Latino, speaks Spanish, and appears to work a low-wage job, rather than stand idly by while our constitutional freedoms are lost.
Are all people who aren't supposed to be here Latina? Isn't that kind of racist yourself, Miss Sotomayor? Are you just assuming they're all Latino? I'm pretty sure there's people from Haiti. I'm pretty sure there's people from Africa. But you just assume they're just driving around looking for Hispanic people. Man, that's awfully racist.
Dissent. And I think this really shows you the tension in these cases, Wolf. This is yet another one from the conservative supermajority siding with the Trump administration on matters of immigration and deportation, essentially giving the Trump administration license to do this, while the three liberal dissenters say, wait, in America we should have more protections for people than the majority is affording them, Wolf.
I know that
I've been involved in football and different sports for quite some time. I never heard the sports people talk so much about the losers. You know, those three liberal judges, they don't think, I don't give a crap. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter like even this much what they think. I've never seen somebody goes, you know what? We lost a football game this past weekend, but we had some great punts. Never. You didn't score any points. You didn't win. Nobody cares that you punted well. But you know what we care about?
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
And the whole thing with that is, I'm just getting started. There's a whole bunch more winning coming your way. Okay? So we might wear out that button kind of a lot today because it's starting to sink in. Oh, crap. Have we just handed this guy a bazooka? Have we just handed him the keys to the arsenal to go, oh, there's thunder, to go out and wrangle these people up? Yeah, he pretty much has it.
Boston has suggested there might be a lawsuit seeking to stop some of what ICE is doing, but there's really nothing that state and local authorities can do legally to prevent a federal law enforcement agent like ICE from doing its business. ICE.
I'm sorry. Should you tell that to more people on CNN and let them know? Because let's just hear that again, because it just sounds too delicious to let go by.
Some of what ICE is doing, but there's really nothing that state and local authorities can do legally.
Nothing. Nothing they can do. That's on CNN. I wanted you to hear that over and over again because there's going to be people on X telling you a lot of BS. There's nothing they can do. But notice what he said there, which was interesting. There's nothing they can do legally. And as soon as he said that, I'm like, well, what else would they be able to do? What else? How else would you stop this? Are you thinking that the people in Chicago, or rather the idiots in Chicago, are going to try to take on a National Guard? Are people in Boston going to try to take on a National Guard illegally? Because you just said there's nothing they could do legally
to prevent a federal law enforcement agent like ICE from doing its business. ICE, like the FBI or ATF or DEA, has essentially nationwide jurisdiction, and there's no legal way that the mayor of Boston, for example, can stop.
Why did he say that a couple times now? There's no legal way. That should go without saying, right? Just say there's no way. You're not implying that the mayor of Boston, the mayor of Chicago, the mayor of Los Angeles would do stuff illegally to stop ICE. Is that what you're saying? Because I wouldn't feel the need to preface it when we're talking about government. I would just say there's no way you can stop it. Nothing. There's nothing you can do. Why would you say there's nothing you can do legally? You see what I'm saying there? It's almost like they're leaving the back door open because they either know or hope that something else is going to happen. That's why I had posted earlier, because I don't know if you saw, we got to ask Brendan Carr about that, but I posted a video that's going on in San Francisco where ICE is doing some things. And the Antifa guys were fighting with the ICE people, getting quite violent, doing something not legal. Got to wonder about that.
From coming into Boston and making immigration arrests any more than they could stop DEA from coming into Boston and making drug arrests. So I understand there's political issues here and issues about public safety, but legally there's really very little that the locals can do.
Well, you're hearing a lot of pushback, Chris, a lot of fear and even some anger If you talk about what we just saw here, it was another, you mentioned, third day of protests against the threat of sending more ICE agents or more federal agents for that increased immigration operations here in Chicago and the threat of National Guard. But you're also hearing that pushback from Chicago's political leaders. Mayor Brandon Johnson saying the meme that you were just talking about was beneath the dignity of the president. You had J.B. Pritzker.
You know what's beneath the dignity of politicians? I don't know, 50 or 60 people getting shot in a weekend. You're worried about a meme. You got your fifis are all hurting. You got sore nipples. Meanwhile, these people are dead. And you're expecting people to worry about a meme. You people govern with emotion. You don't do stuff that's concrete to help people. And that's where the problem is. Who the hell cares if you upset? Doesn't make any sense. You're a grown-ass man. These are grown-ass people. And you're worried. Oh my God, I can't believe he put that meme out about, Chicopolis. Yeah, get over it. It's called making fun of the situation because it is absurd to the point of humorous. That you people can't see that people want to live safely.
Governor saying that this is something that should be taken seriously, saying that the president is threatening war on a major American city. And at issue here, Chris, is not just the opposition to those increased ICE operations that are likely to come.
So when you see that, and again, they're using declare war on the city, what do you think they're trying to drum up when they're saying things like they're trying to declare war? If you felt like someone was going to declare war on you, you would what? You're not going to wave the white flag, you're going to fight back. And they've said it a couple times now where they expect people to fight back. And then I just saw the language on CNN. There's nothing you can do legally. Well, what do you guys got planned? Are we looking at and this scares me. Are we looking at the possibility of another Kent State incident? For those of you who are too young or maybe don't know, go look up Kent State. Remember the song by the idiot Neil Young back when he actually put good music out and concentrated on music for the most part, Remembering Ohio. What if it was a great song. And it was about the National Guard opening fire on the students of Kent State University. They are protesting the war and all kinds of stuff, and I don't know what the spark was, but there was a spark, something happened, and the National Guard opened up fire on Kent State students. And I'm just wondering, could it be that there's some nut job who's been planted in National Guard someplace, someone that they've MK Ultra'd, who when he has a live weapon in one of these cities is going to open up and create a Kent State incident, Kent State style incident. Something doesn't smell right with them saying they can't do anything legally. And President Trump has said vocally many times, if you are threatened, if somebody does something to you, I expect you to return, whatever you need to do to stay safe. So imagine that there's one person in any of these audiences that decides they're going to take matters into themselves, and then all of a sudden we're in a Kent State type situation. How scary would that be? All right, I'm going to break here because I want to come back and we're going to be speaking with Brendan Carr in 1 second. I want to play this video. I believe this was Mr. Carr here on Fox News this morning.
25,840 contraband cell phone recoveries. Brendan Carr, what's the effect of that?
Yeah, President Trump is making America safe again, and he's delivering results in ways that we didn't see in the last 4 years. This is one example. As you noted, tens of thousands of contraband cell phones have been pouring into prisons all across the country. They're being used to orchestrate kidnappings, to order hits, to run drug operations and criminal enterprises. The senator and I had a chance to visit a supermax prison in Arkansas, and they said that contraband cell phones are the root of so much that has gone wrong. And increasingly during the Biden years, state and local law enforcement went to the administration and asked for help, and they didn't get it. Now with President Trump, that's changing, and we're going to allow state and local law enforcement to take action.
Chairman Carr, are you there? Hello.
Good to see you.
Good. How are you doing today? I saw that.
Good. Thanks.
I saw that piece on.
Really look forward to it.
Oh, fantastic. Saw that piece on Fox this morning, and I never even heard. My daughter Ashley is the one who reached out to your people. I've never heard about a contraband phone. Please tell me what that really is. And first of all, why do these prisoners even have cell phones?
Yeah, this is really a wild story that most people don't think about, but it affects your own local community. So we are seeing tens of thousands of cell phones illegally in the prison system being pulled out every year. And again, those are just the ones that are found. So you probably have to multiply that by 3 or 4 for the ones that aren't found every single year. Now, how do they get there? It's a variety of ways. You have drones that are used to drop them over prison fences. You have people that'll shoot them over prison fences. You'll have people that are working in equipment portions of these facilities that will get them smuggled in somehow. And here's the reality: is people are using these to continue to commit crimes. They are using them to run drug operations from inside the cells. They're ordering hits. There's a story in Georgia: 2 13-year-old kids were shot pursuant to a hit that had been ordered on them from a contraband cell phone. In fact, I first learned of this, back in 2015. I met a police officer from Sumter, South Carolina, Captain Robert Johnson. He was a veteran. He worked in Lee Correctional Facility in Bishopville, South Carolina. His job was to seize contraband cell phones. And it turns out that's the most dangerous job you can have in prison, because a contraband cell phone is everything to a prisoner. It's how they get money. It's how they can, engage in this illegal activity. Well, he was too good at his job, and one morning he was getting dressed for work, 5:30 in the morning. His door was kicked in. He was shot 6 times in the chest. He's miraculously survived, and it was, again, a hit ordered from a contraband cell phone. I actually had the chance to call him on the phone just last week after this announcement, and he was just so grateful that we're finally taking action. Because during the Biden years, local law enforcement came to the administration and said, please help us. Let us jam these cell phones. So if they do get in, they're nothing more than expensive paperweights, and they didn't get any relief. And so now we're going to vote this month on a plan that would empower these local jails and prisons to finally jam these cell phones.
Now, why do you have to vote on it? Because what they're going through, they're basically, a cell phone is essentially a glorified radio, isn't it? Can you just broadcast, or whether it be T-Mobile or whatever, AT&T, can't they just stop letting these phones work?
We've taken some action over the years to try to allow that type of thing, but it's been slightly less effective than we'd like. The reason we have to vote is this reason for jamming. There's a provision of federal law, 47 U.S.C. 333, if people really care about it, that says that you cannot jam authorized stations. And a cell phone is a station for purposes of the law. And so for years, the federal government said you can't jam because of that provision. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to say that contraband cell phones are not authorized devices. And therefore, we're going to remove that longstanding federal prohibition that state and locals felt like prohibited them from jamming.
Now, when you say vote, you're talking about the FCC board, or you're going to have to take that to Congress?
That's right. It's the FCC board. So the FCC is authorized for 5 commissioners. Right now, we're 3 commissioners, myself included. So we're 2 Republicans, 1 Democrat. And we'll vote at our monthly meeting. Every month we have a meeting where, it's kind of like a little mini Congress, and we vote on things. So we'll vote on that proposal. Then we've got to seek public comment. But we're going to move pretty quickly then to get that to a final order, and then states are free at that point.
Great. And obviously every single thing anybody in the Trump administration or the orbit does, they go in and sue. Is this something that they could also seek relief in a court and say, no, you shouldn't be doing this, because they seem to be doing everything to support criminals?
Yeah, it's possible that we could see some of that, but I'm pretty hopeful, though, that we'll be able to get this done without significant opposition. I mean, look, I know folks on the left are pretty radical and pretty wild about some of the stuff they do, but allowing contraband cell phones to continue seems like even a stretch for that. So I hope we get a bipartisan vote at the agency. I hope it's not appealed. But if it is, I think I'm confident that we'll get this done at the end regardless.
So when is this next meeting? Are we looking at October, or you still have one coming in September?
Yeah, September 30th. So we're going to get this on the September 30th meeting.
And what else do you have coming up on there possibly?
We got some interesting stuff. So one of the things that we're doing here at the FCC is we're pushing this Build America agenda. You may remember, and some of your listeners may remember, during the Biden years, they got this $42 billion program to connect millions of Americans to high-speed internet. And after 1,000 days of having that program running, led by Vice President Harris, not a single American was connected. Not even a single shovel's worth of dirt was turned. It was sort of a microcosm for what went wrong during the Biden administration, where they wrapped that program up in DEI requirements, in climate change obligations, in price controls, and it was just going nowhere. So Trump came in, and he and Commerce Secretary Lutnick have totally revamped that program, and we're getting things going. So we're going to vote this month on permitting reform because, again, there's just too much red tape when you try to build. And so we're going to be voting on a number of items that are designed to accelerate infrastructure builds in this country. One of the great things about this job is I try to spend as little time inside D.C. as possible, and I meet directly with the tower climbers and the telecom crews that are actually doing the work. And it's helpful for me to hear from them about what's actually slowing them down. And those are the things that we're going to vote on trying to remove.
Oh, awesome. Now, with President Trump announcing Operation Midway Blitz today, and then the Supreme Court coming out and basically saying it is legal to go ahead and do it, is there any way or any sort of strategy to attack the phones of some of these Antifa guys so they can't be coordinating where they're going to strike and how they're going to let people know where ICE is going to go? Is that something you guys can put together?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. There was an incident a couple months back where a radio station in California was allegedly, broadcasting the live locations of ICE operations. And I had the FCC team, take a look, and we, sent a formal letter to that broadcaster to make sure that what they're doing isn't inconsistent with their public interest obligations. And more broadly, one of the things that we see with a lot of this is sort of harassing phone calls and things that can be placed. We saw swatting incidents, for instance, and we have tools that we've made available to law enforcement to trace back those types of phone calls in an effort to hold those bad guys accountable.
Great, great. Now, I want to do something different with you. I know we have a short period of time, but some of the people we have on here, I had Todd Lyons on last week, but most of the people in the audience really don't get a chance to sit down and talk to somebody that's in government the way you are. So I decided, on Friday or so, I was going to put it out there and say, give me your questions for Chairman Carr, and let's have like a rapid fire, type of thing. And they actually put out some good questions. So here's one question, and you may have to explain what Smith-Mundt is, but it says, can Director Carr and President Trump reinstate the Smith-Mundt Act that was repealed by President Obama that allows the media to purposely and intentionally use propaganda against American citizens? So what is the Smith-Mundt Act, and is that even a possibility?
It hasn't come up in the context of the FCC that much. What it did at its core was it prohibited or applied to State Department funding of propaganda, and it regulated those types of things. But the truth is, if you look at the State Department right now and what Secretary Rubio has done in terms of shutting down the different efforts that were engaged there to promote censorship, that's been very, very productive and effective work. And I think that's kind of the most important thing on that front right now.
Okay. Is there something that the FCC can do to tamp down the rhetoric from politicians who seem to advocate for violent responses? Now, some of this stuff might be like touching the rail of censorship, which we don't want to get into, but as elected officials, shouldn't they be held to a higher standard in some of the stuff that they spew?
Yeah, look, I do think there's a concerning phenomenon over the last couple of years where there's been, in my view, sort of an alignment between a lot of these hoaxes that Democrat politicians have been spreading and the ability of those hoaxes to gain traction because of what the legacy broadcast media has done in terms of giving them a sense of legitimacy. And one of the things that, I've been very clear about in this job is we need to hold broadcasters accountable to their public interest obligations. Again, this communication that you and I have right now, that's not regulated by the FCC. Someone stay on the soapbox, not regulated by the FCC. But if you're a broadcast TV station or even a broadcast radio station that has an FCC license, you have a public interest obligation. That's above and beyond what any other speaker has. We're trying to reinvigorate that. And the truth is, so much of the national conversation has been taken over by, ABC and NBC, effectively their, Hollywood and New York C-suites. And what we're trying to do with the FCC is re-empower, local broadcast stations, the folks that are actually connected to their community, and re-empower them. So I think there's a lot that we can do to shift the way legacy media is approaching these issues. In fact, I think the truth is President Trump is winning. President Trump ran directly at the legacy news media. He rejected the idea that we just have to accept that they can dictate what we think and what we can say. And he's getting results, right? So NPR is defunded, PBS is defunded, Colbert is getting into retirement. CBS is making changes, including putting in place an ombudsman. So we're starting to see some real results, and I think that's what we need to keep focusing on.
I think you just might have answered this question, because I was listening to what you just said, and you said this conversation we are having right now is not under the auspices of the FCC. So that meaning YouTube videos and X videos and Facebook videos, does that mean they're not covered by licensing or FCC? Because it seems to be, as much as everyone has tried to dial back censorship, there is still the need to speak in code, especially here on YouTube. There are certain words you can't say. They don't like you showing anybody carrying a weapon at all. Are they allowed to do that because of what you just said? They're not under the auspices of the FCC.
That's right. Yeah, if you're a broadcast TV, broadcast radio, you have a license by the FCC. And because we're licensing you, we're keeping others off of that portion of the airwave. So you have to have an obligation to represent not just your interest, but the public interest. But when it comes to cable channels or online or YouTube, we don't license or regulate that. But I will say, I do think that we need to, continue to maintain a commitment to America's culture and tradition of free speech. And I mean, look, when you look at what happened, obviously during COVID, when you had this massive increase in government control, you necessarily saw an increase in censorship as well, because free speech is the counterweight to government control. But I've been, pleased, although I don't know how long it's going to last, I'm pleased that a lot of these platforms have returned to some semblance of free speech. Obviously, Elon Musk put it all on the line. Buying Twitter has helped restore free speech there. Mark Zuckerberg now is saying that he's for free speech. Again, we'll see how long that holds. But we start to see some good progress, but obviously, a ways to go still on these online platforms.
Like, for instance, the unfortunate incident, and I wouldn't call it incident, the murder of the woman on the train in Charlotte, which President Trump mentioned today. It was so horrific, and the national media pretty much ignored it. And if we wanted to say something about it, we could talk about it, but we couldn't show any of the video. Is that something that Section 230 and reforming that would get that out of the way, or does Section 230 not have anything to do really with the FCC?
Yeah, well, Section 230 is an interesting conversation. So this is the law that gives liability protections for technology companies. So you would think with 230 in place, YouTube and others would be more permissive in terms of what they allow you to show. But I think that this national conversation around that just horrific incident in Charlotte is really telling. You look at a lot of the legacy outlets, and they're saying, well, this was a troubled individual, the system failed him. And, when you see other incidents, they take a very different narrative approach. And so I'm glad that, at least on social media, if not on the legacy media, there's been, the adequate airing of this issue.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't talk about it, they won't. And that's it seems like the networks and the Democrats know that if we just ignore stories, the only way people are going to find out about it is through, what happens on YouTube, Facebook, or X.
Well, this is what's so interesting of this sort of moment in the media right now, where you've got the legacy gatekeepers, again, ABC and NBC and others, their power and their sort of authority is declining. And there's a lot of people on the left that are really mad about the fact that there's a lot of conservatives that are popular online. And what they don't understand is, like, This wasn't easy for people to build this up, but it was a necessity because the legacy outlets were shutting down diversity of viewpoints and diversity of thought. And so it's happened to benefit the conservative movement because, again, as that legacy media power declines, you got folks like you and others that are already there that have your platform that continue to grow your audiences.
Right. And we definitely need it. We need more, actually. So I hope people get incentivized to get out there, especially for the next couple of years. As the media conglomerates, the big, I don't forget the actual statistic about how few companies own so much of the news out there. Is there anything the FCC can do to keep these big companies from gobbling up local outlets?
Well, it's interesting. When you look at the media landscape, you got to divide it into two buckets. So on the one hand, you've got what we describe in FCC parlance as national programmers. That's Comcast, NBC, that's Disney, ABC. On the other hand, you've got local TV station ownership groups like Sinclair, for instance. And to some extent, what we're trying to do is empower station group owners like Sinclair because they want to be responsive to their local communities, and to some extent shrink the power of Comcast, NBC, and Disney, ABC. And so I do think there's a point at which, getting some more scale for those local stations, particularly to the extent that that's helping to beat back some of the power of the national programs, is actually a good thing. And so I'm open-minded on that one.
When RFK Jr. was campaigning with President Trump, one of the things he floated out there was pulling ads from television from Big Pharma. And after that hearing last week where they attacked him mercilessly, is that something that you guys down the road, and maybe you can't talk about it right now, are going to be looking? I thought that might be the reaction, but is that so? How can I ask that without giving up any operational security? Is that possible?
Yeah. Well, one, stay tuned. Point one is stay tuned. Point two is there is some precedent for that. So, for instance, Congress passed a law that banned cigarette advertising, and the FCC helps enforce that. So if there was some federal law or federal regulation passed that prohibited certain types of advertisements, whether they were on billboards or on TV, the FCC could have a role in helping to enforce that with respect to TV, just like we do with cigarette advertising today.
How did it happen with cigarettes? Was it just an uproar? Did it start with the FCC, or did it start in Congress where somebody said we need to pull this stuff off the air?
Yeah, this started decades ago through legislative work in Congress, and then it was then the FCC that stepped in to help enforce it at the end of the day. But it was momentum built in Congress. This was probably 30 years ago when there was significant interest and attention in nicotine and in cigarettes.
Okay. Now I got an interesting question that I don't know anything about, so I'm going to give it to you. Hopefully you understand what this person was talking. They said, "Will the FCC push for the Amateur Radio Emergency Preparedness Act, which forces HOAs to allow ham radio antennas for emergency communications?"
Well, it's a very specific question there, but yes. So, amateur radio operators, play an integral role in our communication networks, particularly during natural disasters when a lot of traditional networks go down. They can continue to communicate and pass along significant information. But we do see challenges, not just with amateur radio, but with all sorts of communications where HOAs put regulations in place that stop people from putting their antennas up. We've done some work over the years, including on something, believe it or not, that are called OTARD regulations, over-the-air reception devices. And as a general matter, we are working to make it easier for people to have their own antennas and systems up.
Did you notice? Thank you. Did you notice what President Trump posted today about the link between, and I have to use this word, jabs and autism? And when I saw that, I was like, oh, here comes another one of his comms. He's letting people know that it's being looked at, and I'm just wondering, how could something like that have gone on for so long, and it took somebody like RFK Jr. to begin looking at the causes of autism, and if there is to be found some, tie-in to being jabbed, is that something else that would further stimulate reining in Big Pharma?
Well, I haven't seen that particular thing, but I will say I did watch Secretary Kennedy's testimony in Congress last week, and I thought it was really interesting because I think the baseline point that he was making was exactly right, which is we're a very sick country, right? Things are not where they need to be as a matter of health. And so he is trying to change things and shake things up. And for people to be saying, you can't change anything, I mean, the status quo is unacceptable. Let's try something different. Let's try to do something that's going to help make this country a little bit healthier. And so I support changes that are taking place.
Okay. So question about TikTok, which I think you've already answered because it's a social platform. It's not licensed. But I'm wondering, because it's not American, is there something that the FCC can be involved in reining in the craziness that's happening on TikTok?
Well, it's not an FCC issue, as you noted, but Congress did pass a law that puts in place some protection to try to safeguard against any national security threats, and that's now being sort of worked on in the administration, that they'll land that in a way that protects America's national security interests. But what's interesting, this ties back to our first conversation, is you've got now all these contraband cell phones in prison, and apparently, and I hadn't known this before, but I'm not on TikTok, but prisoners are using them to open up TikTok accounts, and you've got like parents of people who were murdered by inmates, and now those inmates are sitting there making TikTok videos inside prison. So it's another sort of reinforcement that we got to do something to shut this down with these contraband cell phones.
Oh, man. I've never heard of something like that before. And it was funny. I was driving over and Ashley said, talk about contraband cell phones. I'm like, what the hell is a contraband? Yeah. I was thinking, is it made of like pot or something? Because I think contraband, right. I'm thinking that, I would never have, I couldn't even fathom that they're getting cell phones actually in prison. How much of that is like, well, I don't know, you're not in law enforcement per se, but you mentioned a lot of different ways that these phones get into prison. Is that something you can coordinate with Pam Bondi or Kash Patel and say, working on that end as well?
Yeah, I mean, look, we were standing with the National Sheriff's Association for this event. I was with Senator Cotton, Governor Huckabee. So yeah, we're bringing all components, federal and state law enforcement, to bear to try to address this problem.
All right. Well, that's all the questions I have for you. Anything else that you're seeing? You've got this meeting coming up on September 30th. Any other agendas that the people should be aware of that are going to be happening?
No, it's all good. It's been so great to engage with you, and really enjoyed the thoughtful conversation, and great to be on with you.
And what's funny is because you have such a vital role in government, and it seems like not enough people understand what the FCC does. So in closing, can you give me like a quick synopsis on all the different aspects of communication that you guys control?
Yeah, but basically, all forms of mass communication the FCC potentially touches on. So we help support rural internet builds. We obviously regulate, the cell phone providers. We help boost the space economy. We sort of regulate and authorize the communications component of launches. We have a big national security role as well in terms of dealing with threats posed by communist China. So it's a really interesting job, a lot of different features to it.
So I always do this. People know it. I was like, oh, last question. But wait a second. You just said something. Two things you just said. One, I had no idea that you guys were tied into the launches, especially being down here in South Florida. So how do you keep the communications secret when these launches are going up? Is there like some sort of signal jammer that's around the launch pad?
Yeah, well, not a jammer because of Section 333, but in general, yes, we sort of there's no communications you're allowed to do unless authorized by the FCC, and so we do everything from command and control in terms of authorizing that, and we also deal with with this new generation of low Earth orbit satellites that SpaceX and Starlink are putting up there, and we regulate and promote the deployment of that technology.
Wow, I would never even thought about that until you mentioned working with NASA and space, and because a lot of them are private companies as well, not just the government. With right. Elon, and I guess Bezos is putting stuff up there as well. So that's a huge communication thing. And then you said defense or war, as it's now called. When something is happening in another country, I understand, and if this is national security, don't touch it, but I understand NSA can listen in, and I understand we have intelligence. How much of that bleeds into the FCC, or you guys just handle, quote, federal communications?
Yeah, we're just domestic here. Any communications outside, the boundaries of the U.S. Would, as a general matter, be unregulated by the FCC.
Wow. Very, very, let me just check. Well, thank you very much, because that was very eye-opening for myself as well. And I'd love to see what happens on September 30th, and Ashley can get you back and come back on, because I'm just looking in here and everyone's talking about it. And there were just a ton of questions that I couldn't get to because I wanted to keep you within the time frame and not
we'll do it again. We'll do it again. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Thank you. And you
All
can
right,
see
buddy.
there's Director Brendan Carr's X handle, so you can get a hold of him there. Thank you very much, sir. All right. So hope you guys enjoyed that. I love talking to people, and that was the first time I've actually talked to somebody and brought you guys in. And I hope you enjoyed it. I saw somebody say, hey, that was my question. I hope you heard your question read today and was answered. And you got a big wink and nod. I'm sure many of you followed up on it. We're going to talk about that in about 90 seconds as we talk to you about gold. Actually, this one's about silver.
It's genius. It's pure genius. America is the country that started the AI race. And as President of the United States, I'm here today to declare that America is going to win it. We're going to work hard. We're going to win it.
Why do so many financial experts call silver the most undervalued asset today? Because silver is essential to the future, from solar tech and electric vehicles to the explosive growth of artificial intelligence. Demand is rising fast, and yet silver is still trading at a bargain. With billions pouring into AI, silver prices have only one place to go, and that's up. In fact, silver may be the most overlooked asset class in financial planning. The opportunity for silver is well documented. The market for silver could double or even triple by 2026. You see, I believe in hard assets like this bar of silver. You can hold it in your hand, you can put it in your IRA, you can put it in your home safe, and relative to gold, it's very affordable. That's why I urge you to call my friends at Lear Capital and get their free report, The AI Revolution, and see why silver prices could be set to soar. Call 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. But don't wait. We all know. We've seen it. The government can print lots and lots of dollars, but they can't print silver. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope you got the little wink wink. He actually chuckled when we got to, what's going on with Big Pharma. I can't really tell you type stuff, but yeah, stay tuned. So with President Trump dropping nukes, I mean absolute nukes, over on True Social, of course I can't show it because they would absolutely freak out. But let me see if I can pull it up and show it to you this way. For those of you who aren't on True Social, President Trump. Hold on, why is this not working? Hold on. Okay, wait a minute. I'm trying to find it. He posted a video today, and it's all about the causes. I don't know if we can read it or if we can see it. No, it's an actual video. All right, so let me show it to you, and then you guys can go look it up, or maybe we can talk about it tomorrow night. All right, I got it here, but he didn't even put any context onto it. He just put up the actual video, and I can't show it right now. These people would absolutely freak out. But it's a video nonetheless, and it talks about the link between the jabs and the explosion of autism. So that's one of those things we still can't talk about here, but we will be talking about it. I won't be able to do a night show today because I've still got to move back and forth, but it's very interesting that indeed something might be coming. Let's take some comments. The fake news doesn't report any news that are what people are listening to. Yep. U.S. Marines. They may be coming. Using your imagination. What if our phones erase our memories when we use it? Well, I pretty much have been using the cell phone quite a bit, and I can remember everything. Thank God, I think the Supreme Court knows the intentions of this global agenda. I suggest that people do research and find out what Open Borders is doing in South America. You can look over in Europe as well. It's absolutely crazy. Good job, Robert. Bought $1,000 worth of silver last week. Fantastic. Great for you. Let's see here. No surprise there without my permission. Let's see. Neat. Yeah, okay. Somebody else said it too. Yeah, it's a 2.5 minute video. It's all over X. You can just put it out there. It's all over. It's just amazing. Now I know why they're getting away with what they get away with here. They're not under the auspices of the FCC. They're operating outside the realm of government. And so YouTube and Zuckerberg and everybody else, because they're not regulated and 230 hasn't been revoked, they can pretty much do what they want. So now I know the answer. And that's not something that's about to change anytime soon. Okay, so we still have to tiptoe around, I guess. And that's it. SB just texted me. What's he got here? SB asked me, did you see the Trump social post about the Ukraine woman? No, but I heard him talk about it, and we will be showing that relatively soon as well. All right, so let me get back to some video.
The governor has been warning that he's hearing is going to happen, is imminent here in Chicago, but it's also the threat that you're hearing of the national.
We do have a formal announcement here from the Department of Homeland Security in just the last few moments, announcing that there will be a surge of federal immigration law enforcement. You mentioned it, that they're calling it Operation Midway Blitz, saying that this ICE operation will target the criminal illegal aliens who flocked to Chicago and Illinois because they knew Governor Pritzker and his sanctuary policies would protect them and allow them to roam free on American streets. President Trump and Secretary Noem stand with the victims of illegal alien crime, while Governor Pritzker stands with criminal illegal aliens. Now, notably, that did not include the announcement of the National Guard. Of course, that does not fall under the purview of the Department of Homeland Security here, but I want to let you listen.
You want to bet? Okay, so he's trying to be smart ass and going, oh, okay, the Supreme Court said that they can come in and they can do their ICE raids. But, they didn't say they could bring in the National Guard. Well, guess what? If you remember last week when I talked to Secretary or Director Lyons from ICE, he said they can come in and protect the ICE agents. They are basically going to act as security for the ICE agents. And then, you know what's going to happen then. They're going to see stuff, and of course they're going to report it, and it's on. You could try to find a real small loophole. It ain't going to help you.
To the president earlier this morning when talking about Chicago.
You try and reason with them, and it's like you're talking to a wall. It's just I assume it's just a political ideology. They're not stupid people. We're waiting for a call from Chicago. We'll fix Chicago. We're bringing back law and order to our country.
They got this old slogan out. They say, if you want to get away with murder, kill them in D.C. That's a slogan. That's a street slogan. Every time I turn around, there's another shooting, there's a murder. In the district, they killing and walking away with minimum time. See, D.C., they need everything that Trump is doing. I don't care what they say about him. Fix it. My name is Felicia Cook, and I've been a D.C. resident for since I was born there in 1956.
All right, so now it's to the point where the media is being forced to cover things. There's too many people, from the girls at Chicago Flips Red, the ladies, my wife hates me calling people girls, the ladies from Chicago Flips Red, and there's so many videos popping up now that the people, not the people in the media, the people who live there are like, let me tell you my story. If you haven't heard my story, listen to this. And then you have to wonder, what in the hell are these people in the media doing? For every story that we all hear about, like the beautiful woman from Ukraine who got taken out, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of these stories of people in the hood who nobody ever hears about. It wasn't on camera. It wasn't talked about in the media. You guys want to go out there and beat the drum for the George Floyds of the world, but you don't care about black-on-black crime. It's of no significance. It means nothing. It means nothing because Al Sharpton and the cronies can't get out there and, stiff somebody for some money. They can't make a movement about it. And so they're just forgotten. But now these people are getting a voice. They're getting a chance to speak up.
April the 23rd, that's when Marty went missing. I went downstairs and he wasn't there. I said, well, I'm going to call his job and see if he's been to work because I know how excited he was about the job. And the people said at work that he hadn't been to work. When I hung up the phone, it's kind of like I knew something was wrong. Meantime, my daughter coming up here every Friday and she going through everything he had downstairs. And she found out his last conversation was with some girl he had met on Plenty of Fish. He went to visit her and he never came back home. That's all he was doing was going on a date. That was it. He shot that boy 7 times. He overkilled him. Cold blood. He didn't give him a chance. My grandson was 23 years old. Just getting his life together, man. My grandson's life did matter. And I live with that pain every day.
How can you not feel for these people? 23 years old, just going on a date, and never came back. And they couldn't find him. Who knows what they did with the body in order for these people to find their family member. And it didn't get any news. I never heard about it. You probably never heard about it. They just disappear. They keep talking about elite newcomers being disappeared, where every single weekend people are getting wasted in Chicago, Washington, Boston, and nobody even cares to find out who they are, why they're dead, or what their families think. They're insignificant. They don't matter. They don't show up. There's no ranking. There's nothing that moves the needle in terms of viewership on CNN or MSNBC because they are irrelevant. You guys know I've been binging over and over the series Person of Interest. And as the thing opens up and they're talking about the machine, and the machine tries to stop people from, basically being killed. And it says, I built the machine, but the government is using it because they don't care about people who aren't relevant. We do. And if you start watching that show, you start thinking the parallels. Wait a second. So the government finds these people irrelevant. And the whole premise of the show is we go out and try to basically be precogs based on AI and a computer to stop people from being killed because we care about the irrelevant. And my parallel here is, who gives a crap about the irrelevant at this point? Trump. The Democrats are fighting it. They don't care about the irrelevant. Some kid in the hood gets shot. It doesn't mean anything. Some black guy gets knelt down by a cop and the world explodes. We got to build factories and statues and name the roads after George Floyd. But this young kid and many like him get snuffed out and they're completely irrelevant. They don't do anything to further the narrative.
What are you telling the victims? We don't matter, the criminals matter more. The Democrats didn't do it. I stood in front of the Department of Justice. I talked to Mayor Buss. They heard his story. They knew it. They saw us out there crying.
I don't know how long this murder was, how long ago this woman lost her grandson. It doesn't go away for them. It's a news blip on, some blotter somewhere. They're not talking about it on CNN. It just goes away. Just since that woman was killed on the train, I posted something else today where another guy just beat some blonde woman to death. You can look at my because I can't show it to you here. He just beat her to death. Then the other day, some guy, a newcomer, threw somebody off a bridge. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Nobody cares. And for the first time in this woman's life, who's been trying to get people, the same thing with the ladies in Chicago Flips Right, trying to get our government, please pay attention to what's going on with us. And now that Trump's looking at the situation, the government, who's there to supposedly protect their people, is like, don't come. Let them die. How do you make sense of that?
Nothing. We have to live with this for the rest of my life. Ooh, I'm so glad. Somebody's finally hearing him. The man is doing something right. It's time for it. I don't care what you say. Be mad at me. Be mad at me. Somebody's finally trying to do something to make it better. You wanted to clean up? You wanted to stop? Let them killers know you mean business. Thank you. Thank you so much, because at least it brings some soothing to my pain to know that somebody cares. And somebody somewhere cares, and I don't want this to happen to nobody else.
Imagine thinking or feeling, nobody cares. My kid, my grandkid, my sister, my brother, my husband, they died and nobody cares. Hey, excuse me, can you guys cover this story and find out? Hello? Yeah, we'll call you back, whatever. Nobody cares. Boy, it's thundering like crazy here, so hopefully I make it so a little bit longer, because it's coming down. Once again, summer in South Florida. You guys thought the summer ended at Labor Day. We're still going through it. But it's just so heartwarming and wrenching at the same time, because you're like, finally somebody, that one man cares, and he's got people working with him who care. But at the same time, you're like, the media thinks this is a joke. It's irrelevant. Now, this is the definition of what Operation, it's going crazy outside, Operation Midway Blitz is all about.
So Katie is one of these unique kids. She had such a unique personality. She was very spirited. She made everyone feel seen. She's very engaging. Her sense of humor was incredible. Her wit was so sharp. She was one of these kids. There were about 8 cousins, first cousins in our family, and even as a little kid, as one of the younger ones, as the adults were talking, she would pick up on everything. She was so bright that way. Like, whatever we were saying, we assumed the kids weren't really understanding or getting. And she was able to pick up on it right away, where she was even telling the other cousins, here's what's going on, kind of a thing. On the morning of the 19th, they were at a stoplight, and they were hit in the rear driver's side at almost 80 miles an hour. Without any swerving, braking, Katie wound up dying on the scene, and a friend of hers wound up dying the next day at the hospital.
We didn't know that the person who killed Katie was an illegal immigrant until Tuesday. So she was killed on Sunday. We didn't find out until Tuesday. And the Urbana Police Department was great in getting us the information as soon as they could, but they didn't know where he was. It's that much more difficult to comprehend. Now this person's on the loose. We don't know where he is. They suspected he was trying to flee.
Here's a guy that wasn't productive, wasn't a good citizen, and he barreled into a vehicle with 5 women into it. And his first instinct was to get out of the car and run. And then within a day and a half was almost at the Mexico border. So to me, these are not the productive folks we want to bring in the country. You want to build a country on migrants, probably not the guy you want to stand behind to build a country. Katie received no due process. And I know they like to use certain terms like disappeared and taken, snatched. But let me tell you, Katie was disappeared, taken, snatched, received no due process at all. And The difference here is Katie was disappeared from us forever. We will never see my little girl again. When you talk about due process, I wish she was in another country or in some detention center I can go see her, but she's not, and I'll never see her again.
It's our understanding that he was deported in 2016. And then, as Joe stated, he came back using a fake alias. Why do these people who break these laws, who are not U.S. citizens, deserve due process? Because, again, Katie got nothing. She got death.
We do need to secure the border. That's been very clear now because it has been abused for obviously specific reasons. And I think what he's doing is the right thing to do. We can't have unaudited folks. In the big, beautiful bill, there is a lot of resources around securing the border and sort of doing the right things as far as migrants, because, again, there should be a distinction between legal and illegal.
The law is the law as it is today, and people need to be responsible for enforcing the current law, which is not happening, and that's what got Katie killed.
Let me ask that question. How would you be continuing to move forward each day knowing that somebody who wasn't supposed to be here, who the Democrats are harboring, ended up taking the life of your child? And it's just amazing to me how callous the media is, how callous the Democrats are, and how much they're fighting to keep these newcomers, doing everything possible to make sure that they're still here, but they're not doing anything to help these people.
So gut-wrenching every day, and I wish I could explain it, but it's as if just this large piece of you is gone. It'll never be back, and you've just got to move forward with it. And we have other kids, and we're trying to stiff upper lip, but it is the most devastating thing, and no one should have to do and go through what we're going through right now. And it could have been avoided. Katie was killed by someone who really could have been vetted and not been in this country, and she would be here with us today.
Yeah, it's important for us to continue to tell Katie's story. We want change to happen so that other families don't have to deal with this.
Okay, so with that, they launched Operation Midway Blitz. And something just came out literally, looks like 30 minutes ago. They're on the ground. They are on the ground. I can't show the video because it's got guys with weapons in it. But the surge has begun. Operation Midway Blitz launches in Chicago. I was out with one of ICE's teams, and we arrested this individual, a 43-year-old newcomer from Mexico. He has been convicted in 2024 of forcibly assaulting a child under the age of 13. Forcibly doing that to a child under the age of 13, and he's just wandering the streets in Chicago. And it says here, Chicago is about to be liberated from the foreign invaders that Pritzker and Mayor Johnson have been harboring. It's time to find and deport every single one of them. And I think I can show you this next video, but looks like they mean business to me. Looks like it's on in Chicago. When you start seeing that kind of stuff, man, that is absolutely nuts. Want to share with you, because this is breaking. Let me see if it's the next story I have for you. Wait a second.
If Trump brings the National Guards to Chicago, and if crime stays down for so long, that boosts our property value. And by all of our houses, all of our communities, our hoods, our traps, because they all sit on prime real estate, you need to look up what prime real estate is. That makes your house that was in the family go from 15, 20, 30, 40,000 or 80,000 all the way up to 100,000, 150.
Now here's something I could talk to you about. Having purchased many houses in the hood, I know exactly what he's saying, because when you take a house in the hood and you renovate it and the value goes way up, that's how I made profit. And look at this shack. Okay, we fix it up. Let's put X amount of dollars into it, and we could probably sell it for twice what we purchased it. So this gentleman is telling you another angle of the story that people don't talk about. These people in the hood, some of these homes have been in families for generations. And nobody has talked about the appreciative value of getting the newcomers and the gangs out of these communities. You know, they always talk about promulgate wealth and how, you know, the white people always had the opportunity, they had privilege, black people didn't have no privilege. Well, that's because you got people in there shooting up their neighborhoods. Now what happens if you clean up the neighborhood and it's a nice neighborhood and there's no more knuckleheads shooting or doing drugs or anything else? The property values go up. And if the property values go up, people who live there can make money. And then I thought to myself, is that the reason why they allow it to be done the way it's been doing? Do they know, hey, this is close to downtown. Eventually these people are going to kill each other off and they'll get out of here. And we'll be able to get these properties for pennies. And I went, is that why zombies are in Kensington? An entire side of Philadelphia, just zombie land. Nobody in their right mind would want to live there. Well, you know what? Maybe one day we go into zombie land and we clean it up. And the landlords and everybody who has property there are just like, I can't live here. Here, I'll just sell it for pennies on the dollar. And then all of a sudden there's no zombies. And those properties that you picked up for pennies on the dollar now are going to be worth a whole lot of money. And I heard this guy talk and I went, oh crap, is that what they're doing? Are they forcing people to live like crap, knowing that the property values are going to be driven way down as they've all around it has appreciated way up? Well, what would happen if we finally got rid of these people? Well, then all of a sudden these black people would have value. Their properties would be worth more. Oh, we can't have that. We can't have these black people making money. That would be insidious if that's what they were doing. And it wasn't until I heard this young man talk, well, I won't say young, but this guy talk, that I realized, oh my gosh, that could indeed be what they're doing.
200 and up. If he brings the military here and if he shuts down the crime and keeps it peaceful for so long. And by being peaceful, you're able to think. And then by the military being here with ICE and ICE removing the migrants who were benefiting from programs that we could have been using and getting all of this extra money, and who came here taking all of the jobs now, and by him making English the main language in America, in the United States, that gives us a fighting chance. Now we got a clean community. Our property values went up, which means our house is worth more now in our community. There are jobs for the community. We can work. We can fund our community. Then by him passing a bill that keeps people from fucking with the homeowners, some kind of homeowners bill. Look it up. You know, look it up. It's a homeowners bill that Trump passed so people couldn't. Well, you know, in Chicago, the city will swindle you or take your home from right underneath you. It protects the people, the homeowners. So
doesn't that make sense now, since you've seen what's happened in Malibu, Lahaina? This $1 million properties just burned. They're worth nothing. Hey, you know, we could sell that property there now that and these were in beautiful areas. This was in Malibu and Lahaina and Maui. Imagine what you could pick these properties up for. Dirt cheap. I mean, probably under 30, 40, 50 grand in an area that would probably go for $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 if it was cleaned up. And it's funny because I saw this comment by Rachel. Rachel put this up. She said, the trouble is property values go up and so do taxes, then those poor people might lose their homes because they can't afford to pay their taxes. Not necessarily. If these homes were purchased under a certain how can I say, depending on where they are, if they're homesteaded, if they're locked in, which some of them have been generationally locked in, the property taxes can't go up that much, which would be even more incentive to get rid of these people. If they got rid of these people and they got rid of them and they moved out because they just couldn't take it anymore, then we could reappropriate the taxes based upon what the values could be. This could be something that is completely within their realm of criminality.
Look up the homeowner bills that Trump signed, to help the homeowner and keep his home. But if we do these things, that's a win for us. If he doesn't do this, then we right back to GoFundMe's and everybody robbing Peter to pay Paul because it ain't no work out here.
When I heard this, I was like, wow, I'd never heard of internal gentrification. What I mean by that is the homeowners who were there, who just, nobody wants these houses. Nobody wants to live in a war zone. But if it's no longer a war zone and it's right near downtown Chicago or downtown Philadelphia, and it's in close proximity. I've told you about the Inner Harbor, and that's where I used to buy, right by the Inner Harbor, but the city wouldn't clean it up. And there's just tenement after tenement after tenement that they just let go to pot. And they always complained about gentrification, but at the same token, a lot of these properties are owned by pastors. The pastors were supposedly the first line that people would go to. Hey, I need some help. What do you need? What do you need, son? I got this house, and I just can't stay here anymore. Oh, okay, we'll take an offering, and I'll buy it from you for like $20,000, which is more money than these people probably ever seen. And so I'm listening to this gentleman. I'm like, wait a second. So if you can go from poverty to not wealthy, but poverty to doing okay, that indeed would change the entire makeup of the community. If house after house after house went from literally overnight $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 pieces of crap to all of a sudden being worth $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, that is some wealth building to start with right there. It may cost you like $50,000 to $60,000 to fix it up, but if the property's after repaired value is $300,000, $400,000, anybody would write you a check for about $100,000. Hey, now go fix it up, do what you need to do, and you're going to be sitting on about $200,000 in equity, overnight money. And so I loved his thinking here.
I don't know about you, but I'm for the first one. Remove those who don't need to be here and who are taking benefits from us and our elderly and taking jobs from us and putting in people who need jobs, who are out here doing illegal acts to pay bills. That would eliminate that. If he does this, that will create more opportunities in our community. And keeping our houses and our families so people just can't come and swipe it from you. Yeah, that's a win for us. I don't know how y'all see that as a bad thing.
I never thought of it. When I saw that video, and you're watching his eyes, and he's looking up because he's calculating. He goes, wait a second. Hold on, this Trump dude. You might have a point here. Because we none of us want to live this way, but we like living here. We like living in Chicago. We like the Bears. We like the Blackhawks. We like the Bulls. It's a nice city. So what if we were able to stay here in houses that have been generationally owned, but all of a sudden we don't have the knuckleheads? Values go straight up. Straight up. And I thought, maybe that's what's going on. Never know. Never know. What I got?
Also with us is 12-year-old.
All right, so before I get to this thing, I wanted to make a segue, but before I get to the segue, I wanted to tell you some other stuff that's going on. And there's some really, really good stuff happening, which President Trump talks about here in a second. Where is this? Make sure I have it. Don't know what's going on in Mexico or outside of Venezuela, but Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has just arrived in Puerto Rico, where President Trump has deployed fighter jets to take on the Venezuelan cartels. This was an unannounced trip. Cartels are about to learn why our defense budget is closing in on $1 trillion. And so the Secretary of War, a man who's in the cabinet, gets off the helo on obviously an aircraft carrier in the middle of the ocean and heads into probably a meeting of some sort right there in the ocean, unannounced. What could that be? Stay tuned. I told you this was a consequential Monday and what was going on. All kinds of things are moving and happening at the same time. So I want to address this. We've talked about it quite a bit. Few of us have. President Trump says Irina Zarutska's blood is on the hands of the Democrats who refuse to put bad people in jail. Now that came out at 4:19, and President Trump was talking about Irina and this idiot who unalived her, right? Then this came out, and it says that, let me just show you this. At 4:14, breaking, President Trump just watched the video of Irina Zarutska being taken out, and he is fuming. He slams the judges for releasing the guy at least a dozen times. And so let me go ahead and show you his post that he put up so you can see it yourself. And he does look pissed. I've seen a horrific video of a beautiful young Ukrainian refugee who came to America to escape the vicious war in Ukraine and was innocently riding the metro in Charlotte, North Carolina, when she was brutally ambushed by a mentally deranged lunatic. The perp was a well-known career criminal who had previously arrested and released on cashless bail in January a total of 14 times. What the hell was he doing riding the train and walking the streets? Criminals like this need to be locked up. The blood of this innocent woman can literally be seen dripping from his knife, and now her blood is on the hands of the Democrats who refuse to put bad people in jail. Refuse. Including former disgraced governor and wannabe Senator Roy Cooper. North Carolina and every state needs law and order, and only Republicans will deliver it. Additionally, where is the outrage from the mainstream media on this horrible tragedy? Vote for Michael Whatley for United States Senate. He won't let this happen again. And so now it has made the radar of President Trump. And because it has now made his radar and he's talking about it, the media is going to have to discuss it. They have no choice at this point because this evilness has to stop. It has to stop. What else do I have to show you here? All right, so, I like what Elon said here. Now do you understand how much the legacy formerly known as mainstream media lies simply by ignoring a subject? The choice of narrative is their primary form of deception. Good evening. Here's what we want you to believe today. The crime of omission in the media is as bad as their propaganda. By not wanting to discuss things, by not wanting you to even know what's happening, they are injuring America. I take it as far as they are an enemy of America by not wanting people to even understand or even hear what exactly they're going up against. And it's absolutely disgusting. So, luckily, and here's another thing on today, the booming Monday that it is, that's really got these people up in arms. Because President Trump took today to decide he wants to make prayer prominent again in America. Listen to this.
Shay Encinas from California. Last year in 5th grade, Shay was forced to read a book to a kindergarten student promoting a message of radical gender ideology that is contrary to his religious beliefs and ours. I'd like to have Shay come up and tell the story. It's an amazing story. Shay, please come up.
Thank you again, Mr. President. Hi, I'm Shane Tias. I've been a Christian my whole life, and Jesus means everything to me. When I was in 5th grade, my school forced me to teach my kindergarten buddy about changing his gender using a book called My Shadow is Pink. The book said you can choose your gender based on feelings instead of how God made us. I knew this was not right, but I was afraid of getting in trouble. After my family spoke up, the school treated us badly, and kids started bullying me and my brother because of our faith. And the school did nothing to stop it. It hurt a lot, but I kept trusting God. I believe kids like me should be able to live our faith at school without being forced to go against what we believe. I hope no other family has to go through what mine did. Thank you.
It's like an...
Crazy that now we're getting prayer back into America, and this insanity that the young child talked about, getting in trouble because he didn't want to go along with what they were going. Trump is tearing down everything they stand for. Every single thing that they stand for. I've got breaking news, but again, I can't show it to you here because of what is happening. There are now actual physical confrontations with the people in ICE in Chicago. They are actually throwing hands, fighting. This is about to get really bad. So be ready. Wherever you are, these people have finally realized, I think today, that poop is about to hit the fan. And that there's nothing that they can do. So that's desperation point. You got someone backed into a corner, this is where they're going to lash out. And speaking about being backed into a corner, I can show this. So, you guys know about the boat that got blowed up last week coming out of Venezuela. So, Maduro is forcing Venezuelan fishermen to accompany the traffickers along their route, serving as human shields. And so here are all the boats heading out. And it's sort of like, well, we don't know which one is taking the contraband, but they're all going to be going out there. And look at them. Look at all these boats going out there to go ahead and basically shield the ones that have the contraband. So what's going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen. Like I said earlier, I think there's going to be a Kent State moment very soon. We are going to see somebody get lit up that'll give the opportunity to the idiot Democrats in media to get what they want. In addition, in the last hour, supposedly some letter just popped up, and it's got President Trump's name, and he wrote a letter to Epstein. The desperation is off the charts. It's at 11. Have you ever seen Spinal Tap? It's at 11. It's way up here at this point. They're pulling out all the stops, releasing all the demons. By the way, if you saw MTV Music Awards last night, you know what I'm talking about. Which is why we need prayer in America right now.
Forced era. And to allow people into a country who are truly, there are evil people. We're all people of religion, but there are evil people, and we have to confront that. I just give my love and hope to the family of the young woman who was stabbed this morning or last night in Charlotte by a madman, a lunatic, just got up and started. It's right on the tape, not really watchable because it's so horrible, but just viciously stabbed. She's just sitting there. So they're evil people. We have to be able to handle that. If we don't handle that, we don't have a country. And I'd like to ask a very good friend of mine, Secretary Scott Turner, to come up and say a few words about some of the things we're doing. And Scott, please take it away.
Well, good morning. So grateful to be here. What an honor it is to stand with this commission.
Now, you guys know I often, while they're having these news things, I'll come in and give you an opinion. This needs no interruption. Just understand Scott Turner, so you know what's coming right now. All right, so I'm not going to interrupt here.
And with our president, y'all, we're in the nation's capital. We're at the Museum of the Bible. We're together and we're talking about faith. Did anybody else pick up on that? I wouldn't want to be anywhere else but right here. So thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to serve under your leadership, sir, and to be a part of this tremendous cabinet. How many know we have a godly, faithful cabinet? And a cabinet that prioritizes prayer. On July 3rd, Mr. President, of this year, you kicked off the year-long celebration of America's 250th birthday in Iowa. You invited America's faith communities to come together to pray for our country. Well, Mr. President, America's faith communities are responding with overwhelming enthusiasm, as you can see here today. Today, more than 70 major faith organizations and churches have joined together to participate in what we're calling America Prays. In fact, many of you are here today, including leaders from Pray.com, Hallow, the National Religious Broadcasters, the Faith and Freedom Coalition, Intercessors for America, and many, many others are here with us. And I want to take a moment. If you are here today and you have joined this faith movement, America Prays, please stand if you're here this morning. Please, if you're here, stand and let us see you. Thank you. Well, together, we have our simple proposition. Think about this. What if 1 million people prayed for our country every single week between now and next July 4th? More specifically, what if believers all across this great nation got together with 10 people, friends, family members, colleagues, work associates, 10 people each week to pray for our country and for our fellow citizens? Let that sink in. 1 million people every single week, 10 people getting together to pray for our country and for her citizens. Think about the miracles that would take place over the next year. Think about the transformation that you and I could witness in communities all across the land. Sons returning to their fathers, daughters returning to their mothers, families coming back together, health being restored, financial needs being met, mountains being moved. Think about it. If 1 million of us every week got together and prayed for this great country, how many know that God is well able to do it? Amen. We're a nation that has always believed in the power of prayer. During the Constitutional Convention, when our founding fathers, and many of you know this, were discussing the formation of our country, Benjamin Franklin stopped the debate and asked the delegates to pray for guidance from the Lord God Almighty. He famously said, "If a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, is it probable that an empire can rise without his aid?" How many are grateful that God put that on the heart of Benjamin Franklin on that day? Prayer brings restoration. It rebuilds what has been broken. It ignites an indescribable power of hope within you and within me. It's a light that's felt by all of those in whom we intercede and pray for. And you've all heard faith leaders across the country quote 2 Chronicles 7:14, which says, "If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sins and will heal their land." On behalf of President Trump and ultimately the Lord God Almighty, who calls us to pray without ceasing, I'm inviting all Americans to pray with unwavering faith for the renewal of our nation and our fellow citizens. Amen? Amen. All Americans.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. That was strong. That was incredibly strong. 1 million people praying for the nation. That would really, I believe, would really do something. So immediately, the Democrats started freaking out and called them, separation of church and state and all that. They can't take it. It's like shining light. It's the sun on Dracula. Everything that's happening today, which, incidentally, there's even more stuff happening today. I showed you earlier Pete Hegseth getting on the aircraft carrier. He just did this.
How we doing, Warriors? I think this might be the single most beautiful picture I have ever seen in my entire life. Looking out at these faces, looking out at this Caribbean, on a floating island of American power, on the front lines of defending the American homeland. Make no mistake about it. What you're doing right now, it's not training. This is the real world exercise on behalf of the vital national interests of the United States of America to end the poisoning of the American people.
It's coming. So understand the significance of this day. You will remember it. You remember that the Supreme Court gave President Trump the power to go into these cities. You will be able to go on X right now. As soon as we're done, wait, you will see people fighting ICE and DHS officers actually fighting, grabbing DHS officers, watching them fight back. They are undoubtedly going to bring in more troops because these people have lost it. Whatever Pritzker wanted, he is going to get it. This is not going to be an easy task. There will be people hurt. There will be bloodshed, which then goes into the fact of why we needed the prayer, because America will possibly feel strain of breaking apart like it hasn't felt in quite some time. They will not cede. They will not go down easy. You are going to have to actually probably get down on your knees and pray for what may happen in the very near future. And that's even before you just heard Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, just tell everybody, this is not a drill. When you hear those words and you're in the military, that usually means lock and load. This is not a drill. We are taking the fight to them. So much is happening. So much, I'm still not done. This happened, which I happened a little while ago, but you need to know of now. U.S. Appeals Court has ruled against Democrat states who sued President Trump for mass terminating of federal employees. The court said the states did not have the standing to bring the suit. Yet another Trump victory. What's that, 32 now we're up with, Pam? They're winning everything. Everything. So if your opponent is feeling completely pummeled, that's when they're going to reach for the foreign object. Now we can fire people. That's a lot of winning.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
So I want you to think of this. If you can't take it, we can't take it, Mr. President, but you're winning so much, how do they feel? How do they feel just sitting in a chair and getting everything, all of their pillars, all the people they hold up? Obama, you can't do crap. Hillary, can't do crap. Brennan, name them all. Nancy Pelosi, he's laughing at her. He posted a meme about her. Hakeem Jeffries, nothing. There's nothing they can do legally. And it's set in today, Monday, September 8th. They now realize it's over. You got 3.5 more years of this, and you've just found out you've shot every literal wad in your gun, and now you have got nothing left. And this steamroll is just starting. And there's nothing you can do. Put yourself in that situation. If you've ever been in a situation where you have complete authority, power to do whatever you want, or vice versa. If somebody had complete power over you and you felt completely helpless, what's the emotion that you get? It's anger. Right now, they are going to be lashing out. I'm telling you tonight, unfortunately, I can't do a show tonight because I got to go meet Robin, but I'm anxious to see what kind of stuff happens when the sun goes down in Chicago tonight. They're already threatening all kinds of violence. And when you see the videos on X, you're going to see these people fighting back. They're not going to go down without a fight. It was funny, we were talking about President Trump saying something requiring the media to act on the woman who was killed on a train. Listen how Brian Stelter paints this picture.
Really, over the weekend, Elon Musk, Charlie Kirk, other Trump-aligned figures succeeded in making this senseless death a symbol of big city crime. We heard President Trump asked about it yesterday when he was...
It's the right-wingers made this a symbol of inner-city crime. It is inner-city crime. The fact that you had to name right-wing influencers is because you weren't doing your own damn job. And now they're freaking out. Oh my gosh, the people on YouTube, the people everywhere else are talking about this. And oh my gosh, what do? Cover the story. Do your damn jobs. But you can't because it's something the right-wingers are making up. Not making up. We've seen the video.
Heading home from New York City. He didn't seem to know much about it. He said he would get briefed, and then today, Trump did know all about it. That's exactly what has happened here. This story has trickled up from local news to social media and now to the president's attention, and it's being used, as you said, Brianna, as a political symbol with MAGA.
It's being used as a political symbol. No! It's not a political symbol. A woman lost her life. She was ambushed. She was defenseless. She was stabbed in the neck by a person who was in and out of jail 14 times. There's no political aspect to this story. This animal, this savage, should not have been on that train. You don't have to be political. It doesn't have to be a cudgel against blue cities. It's humanity. This woman was sitting on a train, minding her business, looking at her phone, and all of a sudden, some beast behind her, some demon behind her, ended her life unceremoniously and just walked away. But you think this is a right-wing thing.
Media calling for more forceful punishments and more incarceration. I have to say, some of the replies to Musk, some of the comments around this story are baldly racist, stoking fear of...
It's racist. It's stoking fear. You know what really stokes fear, Brian? Women around the country watching that going, that could have been me. I'm sitting right there. I'm looking at something on my iPhone, and some dude behind me just decides, I don't deserve to be here. It's not a right-wing thing stoking up fear. It stokes up fear because I can see it. I can see evil right in front of me. Of course it's going to stoke fear, not because of any political agenda, but because of what it is. And you won't even talk about it.
African Americans, because this man attacked a white woman. The open racism on sites like X today, it's eye-popping. But there are also legitimate questions about this so-called career criminal, someone who had been a repeat offender. And those questions, I hope they're not lost amid all of the cesspool kind of comments on social media.
How about people who are angry? How about people looked at that and said, that person is an evil demonic beast who did nothing but sit back and decide he was going to take this life? It wasn't even a robbery. I just need to snuff her out. And it's racist what people are saying. No, I would call them some names. And I'm black. And by the way, what did you guys say about Daniel Penny when he tried to help somebody on a subway? Every turn they get, they're going to fall back on Nazi or fascist or racist. It's all they have. It's all they have. It makes you just want to vomit hearing some of this stuff. It's crazy because now that I want to show you this. As would have been easy to predict, Justice Sotomayor filed a 21-page dissent, telling all that the end of the freedom to walk the streets is at hand. But in a very surprising move, Justice Kavanaugh writes an opinion, not joined by the other justices, basically previewing the arguments that will likely carry the day for the Trump administration in the end. Kavanaugh's concurrence is 10 pages. Sotomayor wrote 21 pages dissenting. And in her dissent, she goes, it would be hard for any district judge to cite Justice Sotomayor's dissent as persuasive as some have done recently without dealing with the fact that Justice Kavanaugh wrote a concurrence. She wrote 21 pages hoping that would help other people fight against this. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. It's on right now, people. There's no turning back from today. They've lost it completely. I really want you to walk away from tonight going, they're done. The lawfare is pretty much in regards to this stuff, but he can fire who he wants. He can go into any city he wants. He can round up as many newcomers as he possibly can do. Tom Homan is going to be off the chain, and there's nothing that they can do legally. Legally. So what's going to happen? We're going to start seeing some very illegal activity today because there's nothing else they can do. The media can't complain. They can't bitch. They can't moan. Nobody cares. You're losers. You've lost. You lost in November, and now you got the final nail put in your coffin on September 8th, 2025. Your fighting is over. See, most people would lick their wounds and start planning something in the future. Not these people. They're going to get desperate and they're going to act out. So you need to be prepared. It's not hyperbole. When you see some of the videos that I can't show you, you're going to go, hey, not going there. Definitely not going to go to Chicago, San Francisco, Portland. Take them off the map. Don't go. Maybe not even New York. Definitely not Boston. Things are going to heat up, and I don't want to see anybody unnecessarily harmed because of these nuts. And then, okay, and the other thing I want to warn you is that all they have left is this Epstein stuff. They're going to go, Epstein, it's going to be 24/7 Epstein. Just telling you, next time we meet, you'll come back and go, Barry, you're right. All I heard is Epstein, 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 Epstein. Over and over and over again. But I want you to just remember why you're going to hear Epstein, Epstein, and Epstein. Because they got nothing. It's over. I mean, the thunder is happening. There is nothing these people can do. And I'm going to look at some comments here in a second because I'm sure there's some people like, well, can't they do this? Can't they do that? No. The only thing they can do is this. You thought you were going to get away with it. That's it. That's all they got. Nothing else. They can forget it. Now is the danger part. They're forgetting Ohio. If you haven't heard the song, and look up Kent State, and you'll find that's what they want. They want someone to die. And I don't just mean somebody dying. They want someone in the military, HHS, ICE, somebody to do something so that they can go 24/7 with it. Because they got nothing. No. Mute. Oh, you guys know, you love that. You love that. I've been telling you for quite some time that we've been in a civil war. Now you're actually going to see it. You're actually going to see it happen right in front of you. Which means President Trump, you know, remember when he disappeared and like, oh, we're wondering, yeah, I know exactly where he was. I would bet anything that they were in some sort of bunker planning Operation Midway Blitz and whatever they're doing in the Caribbean. So what do you have to look forward to? Over the next couple days, you're going to see the Democrats completely freak out. You're going to hear Epstein, Epstein, Epstein until you can't hear it anymore. And then you're going to see them getting violent. In fact, once the sun goes down tonight, we all might tune in and go, let's watch the riots, shall we? Because I think it'll turn into something like that. So many times we've heard they are done. You may have heard it, but now you see it. See, that's where the difference is. People said they were done. Now you actually, they can't stop it. That's why I chose CNN to let you hear it. There's nothing you can do. There's no place to appeal it to. The Supreme Court has now said they can do what they need to do. So if you're concerned like everyone else, like we've heard it, now you see it. That was a declarative decision, 6-3. Go round them up anywhere. That means they're done. 4 dead in Ohio. Yep. Crosby, Stills, and Nash. They want something to happen, so they have another talking point. Yeah, and that's why they're listening right now. Everything Epstein. They've pushed all in once again on Epstein. Ness and Dorma. Yeah, it may be here at this point. And again, I mean, like the lady said, if you choose to think it's just once again, your indicative response will be what they do. Because at this point, if all bets are off and they have no reason, and there's nothing else for them to do, this is when they get down and dirty. Protests mean nothing. You can go up and down the street all you want. Now, watch what happens. Randy goes, the Civil War is now quite apparent. Let's see here. You are too much, Barry, tuning into my favorite song. All right, it's all these white hippies that need to go to jail. The lying, evil media has to go. That's the problem. Oh, the next 24 hours will be incense, just craziness with them talking about, oh my God, the Supreme Court. We need to overturn the Supreme Court. We need to pack the Supreme Court. We need to do this. Good luck. Good luck. Doesn't matter at this point. Oh, and then President Trump talking about prayer today. We need to make sure that we have separation of church and state. Good luck. Too late. In fact, President Trump posted this. Do I have this? Here. Let me show you this in closing, in case you haven't seen it. Many of you guys may not be on True Social. President Trump posted this. Happy birthday, Mary Queen of Peace. So he's letting them know with no uncertainty, yes, we're going to go full hard in prayer. You know, happy birthday, Mary Queen of Peace. That's your president. And that's why I'm really, really feeling strong that this stuff is about to break loose. Because they got nothing left. All they have is violence. All right, so let me do super chats, and we'll meet again tomorrow. I'll probably be here again, once again, because I'm still not fully set up. When I get off here, I'm going to head back and start wiring things, but it's happening. It's in the process. And then I got to pick up Robin some dinner too. Hold on. And alrighty, let's do this. Making Blankenship. You're the boss, Barry. No, Trump is the boss. Trump is the boss. Just another notepad. Barry, Midway is the name of an airport in Chicago. Not Battle of Midway. You think he's play on words? Could be. Could be. Maybe they're going to take over that. But Midway is what he called it. But you're right. That is the airport. Sidney Brook, remove them. Smitty's Music Tavern, had they risen up against the gangbangers, there would be no need for the guard. True. Hal, love Barry Show, love all the support, love Trump. Thank you. Sidney Brooks, all blue states need ICE. They do. Ernest Walker, Democrats plan, you will own nothing and be happy. Yes, they've been saying that. Now you know what happens in Israel the whole time with those Kent State moments. Yeah, go look that up. Go look up Kent State. If you're too young, you may not remember it. Brian Newland, I'm still praying God bless this country that I serve. God, country, family is my motto. Forgive me. Grits Girl, Bear, we all need to make ethics complaints against these Supreme Court judges. They need to stop ruling against the Constitution? You mean the district court judges. The Supreme Court today did the right thing. So I'm pretty sure what you're saying is stop with the district court judges. Yes, those people. They need to be dealt with. Absolutely. All right, so I will see you guys tomorrow. I wonder if Caroline will do a press conference. If she's doing a press conference, then I'm probably going to be here. But it's coming. It's coming along. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.